Hello everyone, my name is Abby. I want to share with you a story about my crush, the story of how fate worked everything out so that we would be together. I will tell you how it happened and then what came of it. I'm 14 years old and I have a crush on a guy. It happened a long time ago. I just didn't think it was actual love. It was simple for us. We lived close to each other. Our parents have known each other for many years as well. As neighbors, they often visited each other, celebrated the holidays, and the Fields family had a son named Vance, and we grew up together. When we were kids, he helped me build doll houses. We played together on the playgrounds where he protected me from other boys. My parents always said that Vance had an excellent upbringing, and their approval of him brought me closer to him. I always thought playing together and holding hands was normal. The parents joked that in 15 years they would become family. This thought stuck in my head and I grew up with it in my mind. I was okay with that long-term goal. Frankly, I did not even think of finding a boyfriend because there he was. I always had Vance. He and I went through a lot together. We were next to each other in victories and failures, and I always felt our harmony. I felt it was supposed to be like that we were created for each other. There was no other explanation. As we grew up together, everything around us seemed to change. Our friends, environment, habits, tastes, but our connection with him remained the same. Vance was my crush, and I accepted this idea a long time ago. I was still waiting for him to finally kiss me, but until this happened, I did not want to rush anything. I felt like this had to be a very special occasion, that everything would happen in time, and we must not forget about our trust. I was always glad to see him. We spent a lot of time together. Vance loved to ride bikes, and he even taught me. I rode it for him, even though I did not like the terrible pain in my knees after cycling. When we turned 14, I knew for sure that my first kiss should be with him and only him. No other options were considered. I knew Vance like the back of my hand. I could even predict what mood he would be in the morning. My mom began to ask more and more questions about him, but I had nothing to say. I just said that everything was fine, and everything was essentially the same as before. This kind of made me panic because almost 12 years have passed since we met, and since then, nothing has changed. I mean, we're close, but not enough to date. We're like relatives or something, and only I was the one who had deep feelings for him. At one point, I was so desperate and decided that maybe I shouldn't have illusions. But then my friend Rachel, it was she who said that the strongest marriages are those between two best friends. She also added that sometimes men are too shy when it comes down to it and said to take the initiative into my own hands. At first, I did not like the idea, but then I realized that it was not so bad. Rachel and I began to carefully develop a plan of action. Everything had to happen as if by chance, but in fact, we would arrange everything on purpose. So it was decided. We chose a day and a place. Rachel had a family house in the countryside, and she suggested that the four of us go there, her and her boyfriend, and then me and Vance. At first, when we proposed this idea to Vance, he was embarrassed, said that it was a weird group, but then we said that it was just a formality. I hoped that the romantic atmosphere would open up his feelings and he would finally date me or at least kiss me. In the end, he agreed. So I put on the best dress in my wardrobe and rehearsed my love declaration speech. I was looking forward to our kiss, my first kiss. Everything was supposed to be very romantic, as I anticipated. We arrived at the house with Rachel first, before the boys, cooked dinner, opened the wine, and then waited for them. As soon as Vance and Tony arrived, we sat down at the table and began to eat, drink, and chat. Overall, everything went well. We laughed and joked a lot. The evening passed unnoticed, playing board games and watching horror films. I tried to snuggle up to Vance, but he kept running to the toilet or getting water all the time. It seemed to me that he was just nervous. Of course, he was also preparing for the first kiss. When it was deep into the night, we began to go to our rooms. Vance thought that the girls would be sleeping separately, and then when he found out that we were separated into couples, he became even more nervous. It was so sweet. I knew he would behave this way and asked Rachel to help. She had unscrewed the light bulb in the bedroom beforehand, and then we asked Vance to screw it in. While he was doing this, Rachel locked us in a room from the outside and we were left completely alone. Smiling, I walked slowly up to Vance. I looked him straight into the eyes, but he kept turning away. It amused me even more. He moved further and further, and then I came closer and closer. And when there was no more room left, he made such a disgusted face like I fed him worms. I came closer and waited for a reaction, but Vance just stuck to the wall and stood there like an idiot. "What's the matter with you?" I shouted in his face. To which Vance replied, "What's the matter with me? What's wrong with you? I feel like I'm trapped and it's also very apparent that you're hitting on me. But this is so wrong," he shouted back. At that moment, I abruptly pulled away from him and did not know what to do next. I asked him why it was wrong, because we were created for each other, because we had loved each other ever since childhood, and is it not right and logical to be together not only as friends? We're so close and know everything about each other. However, Vance believed that this was all just childhood memories and feelings. Then, I finally realized that I had actually been in a friend zone for a while, and I did not even have time to understand when it happened. I felt very sad and hurt at that moment. How could I live for so many years creating unreal expectations? How could I not see what was on the surface? Vance loved me only as a friend, and that cannot be changed. I felt bad and ashamed of myself. I looked at him and then turned away so that he would not see my tears. Vance said that he was sorry, but I did not want to hear him anymore. I knocked on the door for Rachel to open it. She was very confused at the sight of my teary face, and I could not explain anything. I just ran out to the bathroom and locked myself in there. Vance felt that I needed to be alone. Of course, he knows me so damn well. The rest of the night, I sat with Rachel. She comforted me and listened to me, and I just spoke it all out. We fell asleep in the morning, and now I had to somehow look him in the eyes, and his parents as well. I gathered my courage, returned home, and tried to pretend that nothing had happened. Vance looked at me with the same kind eyes. I now decided that I had to change. I just could not leave as before. Over time, my mom started asking me questions, and I did not hide anything. I told everything as it is. She perfectly understood my feelings and allowed me to go on vacation to another city to unwind. So I went. It helped me distract myself. It was as if I took a breath of fresh air. I will not go into details of my vacation. I can only say that the pain did not go away, but was muted. On my arrival, I met Vance at my house. He came to talk to me when he learned that I was back. Honestly, I missed him a lot. He was with me almost all my life, and then suddenly we abruptly stopped talking. It was so weird. I wanted to run up to him and hug him, chat as we did before, but now it felt like a luxury. I waved my hand at him and closed the door. It was difficult, but I tried. 2 months have passed since then. Do you think we should still talk as friends? But how can I do this if I still have feelings for him? And generally, what would you do if you were in my place? If you like this story, then give it a thumbs up and leave us some comments down below. Don't forget to subscribe. The first time I fell in love was when I was 13. His name was Ilya and my Aya. Affection between us sparked immediately when we first met. As if at the click of a button, it was magical. The subtle similarities of our names showed that this was nothing else but fate, especially since we were in the same class. We both had dark hair, loved the same kind of pizza with chicken and mushrooms. We always sat at the same desk, went to each other's houses for special occasions, and told each other everything. We were so close that I felt like we had known each other for our whole lives. Because I really did know everything about him. I was his closest confidant and he was mine. One day when we were walking home, he asked me if I would date him. I was so happy to hear that and said yes, of course. But one problem was that I had to go out of town to my grandma's for the entire summer. He promised that he would wait for me, and when we both return to school, everything will get back to normal. Or will even be better. That day we had our first kiss. Awkward, but so exciting. I would remember it forever. I came home all happy and ecstatic. This was the best start to the summer. In not even 3 months, Ilya and I will be together, sitting at the same desk, but this time holding hands. This would be so romantic. At the grandma's, Ilya and I called and texted each other all the time. He would send me pictures of himself and I would do the same. I missed this person like crazy. I wanted to be back in my hometown as soon as possible. After a couple of months, I noticed that he was texting or replying to my messages less, and rarely even called me. I didn't want to wind myself up about it, so I decided to wait till I get back. And when the day finally came and I got back home, Ilya didn't even call me. I decided to surprise him and went to his house that same evening. He got frightened by my surprise. I threw myself onto him with hugs and kisses, but he quickly distanced himself and said that we were rushing things. Maybe we should give each other more time? It's just that I feel like this would be better for us since we have so much time ahead. There's nowhere to rush, he said. These words cut like blades through me. I felt like a fool who had been longing and waiting for him for 3 months. I was really offended. I simply said that I needed time to think and left. That evening, I shut myself up in my room and, nearly choking from tears, started cursing that time spent at the grandma's. My mother heard my cries. She came into my room and I opened up to her. Listen, if you really like him, then maybe you should wait a bit longer. You waited for 3 months, and I don't think that it would take him another 3 this time round. Just be by his side, she advised. I wiped away my tears and agreed with her. After all, I had actually waited more than 3 months. I'd been in love with him for 3 years. The next day, I came to school, sat next to him, kissed him on the cheek as if nothing happened, and told him I was happy to see his face. Ilya was delighted. He told me I was the closest person to him and he didn't want to lose me. I was glad to hear this as well. But you know what? The more time I waited, the more our relationship started resembling what it was before. After a couple of months, I noticed that he started to avoid me. We haven't spent time together for a while, haven't eaten our pizza, haven't had those heart-to-heart chats. And then Ilya decided to sit at another desk and didn't even explain this. And what do you think happened next? His birthday was coming up. I knew that he'd been wanting those cool earphones, so I bought them, wrapped them up, and went over to his party. I was a bit late because I'd been choosing an outfit carefully. I decided that enough time has passed. It's been more than 3 months, and I wanted to clear up the confusion to remind him of our past. In the end, why wait longer? I was terribly uncomfortable with the idea that he was gradually disappearing from my life. I entered the house. Ilya greeted me with his stunning smile. I know he was happy to see me. I wanted to hug him so badly, but he barely even touched me and then playfully punched me on my shoulder and said, "The person closest to me finally arrived." I mean, it was nice to hear that, but at the same time, this all sounded kind of ambiguous. I kissed him on the cheek and gifted my present. We went straight to the dance floor, right when the slow music started playing. Ilya was a bit tipsy. He delicately hugged me, and to be honest, I nearly lost my breath. I wanted for him to hold me like that forever, and then I decided to tell him what needed to be said for a long time. "Ilya, it's been a while since you asked. I mean, maybe we could try again. Well, you get what I mean. You know that I love you, right?" I said, exhaling. I looked him in the eye and saw that this was all extremely awkward. Yes, his eyes told me that my feelings weren't mutual. Out of confusion, I began to beg him for some sort of recognition of my feelings. But he just said that he loved me the most, but as a friend. Oh God, was this a blow. For 5 years now, I'd lived in the friend zone, dreamed about this person, was always there for him, wanted to marry him, and when all this was so close to becoming a reality, I left. I looked him in the eye and felt like the ground was about to crumble out from under me. My heart pounding at my temples. I felt like I was being crushed into pieces. A sharp pain burned through my chest. "What is it, tears? Are you crying?" he asked. "Yes, damn it, I am crying. Crying because I have nothing else left. Because for the last 5 years, I've been waiting for you to look at me like you look at other girls. What happened last year then? You were the one who kissed me," I screamed at him. He stood motionless like a statue. The music in the room was quiet. We ended up at the center of attention. An awkward silence fell. I didn't even wipe my tears. I just pushed him and ran away. I've never felt worse than in those upcoming days. I not only lost my chance at love, but I also lost my best friend. The next day, I came to school devastated, with no desire to talk to him. Ilya tried to come up to me to talk, but I felt so horrible, so I didn't even let him near me. Then summer break started, and I went away to my grandma's again. There, I decided to start a new life. The change of scenery helped me to distract myself and recover. I even got a boyfriend and my first romantic relationship. It was short-lived, but still enjoyable. Ahead was the last school year with Ilya. I managed to work out my feelings, cool down, and keep my emotions under control. On the first day of school, I saw him. Oh, how handsome he was. He became even taller. He became even more attractive, muscled up, changed his hairstyle, and seemed to even be taller. I took a deep breath, said hi to him, and walked on. Then he ran up to me and offered to eat chicken and mushroom pizza after school. I refused, but he insisted, said it was important. Suddenly, the thought that he would ask me to date him again flashed through my mind. But I can't bear the pain for the second time. I looked into his eyes and I could not resist him, so I agreed. That evening we met for pizza. Ilya took my hand and I got shivers down my whole body. I felt tears coming in. "I know how you feel about me, and I really want to explain the situation, Aya. I want you to know that I do love you so much, but only as a friend," he began. I rolled my eyes and asked him not to repeat those words ever again. "No, wait. You are the most important person to me, and you should know that I'm gay." He blurted it out. "What? Gay?" I screamed, surprised by the statement. So it turns out that I was friends with him all these years and didn't even know about his preferences? Why did I even fall in love with him in the first place? And why did he hide this? Ilya explained that in the period before he kissed me, he felt a weird longing for other boys, but tried to fight it because of his strict father. He decided to try dating a closest girl he could find, who was me. But nothing worked out. I realized I couldn't fight myself, and then I was finally convinced of this when I sat down at the same desk next to Sasha. "Well, now you know who my love is," he said. Long story short, I was shocked for a long time after this. I felt sad and silly at the same time. I wasted 5 years of my life waiting for a relationship that couldn't even happen. Friend zone can last a while, guys. So my advice to someone in a similar position, it's best to clarify the situation as soon as possible. If you liked this, please thumbs up the video and leave a comment.